Hello, YouTube. Today, I wouldn't really call it a vlog. Hopefully, the audio quality is much better. I have one of these Rode. Here, packaging will show it much better. One of these Rode microphones. Because after talking with a few people, they've said that my microphone quality is not the best. So hopefully this will help. But today is meant to be more of a writing kind of video. And it's about, as the title is going to be, how to find inspiration, right? So I'm really excited. I have some good stories to tell. I'm really excited for today's video, and I hope this is really informative for you guys today. It's dark out. Honestly, it's technically Sunday now. It's 12:15 in the night. Super late for me. Not that much of a night owl, but when I want to write, I'll write, and I want to, really focus my energy towards the content side of my life. So this is one of the ways I'm doing it. Let me just jump right in to what I want to get at. Right now I don't have anything specific in mind on what I want to write about, and I'm sure other people really struggle with that. How do you find inspiration? Where do you even start? Where do you start? I go back to thinking about high school, my time in high school. I was never much of a writer, ever, period. Until recently, I'll say past year, I'll say. But finding inspiration on things to write about was always just, it was like, I can't give a good example, so I'm not even going to try. But it was hard, is what it came down to. It was really hard. I really struggled with that. But now, being that I am a writer, and I do care about my writings, and I've written a lot, I have an opinion, and I think it's a sound opinion. You guys can agree with me. You guys can disagree with me. Teach their own, right? Writing is a very personal thing, I believe. And for me, writing comes from the heart. And you should never trap your heart or force your heart into feeling things that it doesn't really want to feel or is forced to feel. So, let's get into this, right? I have just about filled up this notebook with writings, poems. And this is, 200 pages? Let's say it's 170 pages. I have just about 170 writings in here, from poetry to writings. I've done it all. I like to consider them a lot more poetry, more than anything. And throughout all those writings, most of them have come recently to me. Within the past 3 months, I'll say, even less, most of them have come to me. And usually they just come and I'll write, but some nights like tonight, I just want to write. It's a good way for me to relax and just kick back. And I don't have one thing on my mind on what to write about, so I need to go about figuring out where am I going to start. And I was driving around not too long ago, and it's something I like to do every night before I come home. I like to just drive, and I was listening to bossa nova music, or I could be saying it wrong, but it's like BOSSA space NOVA. It's like jazz. Imagine jazz, right? And that's what it's like. And a few songs, I've listened to it a whole bunch, but there's a few songs in there that I really love and really spark some emotions. And that's something that's really good about music, is it really can just explain emotions in ways words can't sometimes. So that's one way I always love to go about trying to find inspiration. You play some music. For me, I like to listen to some sad music sometimes. Look at some pictures of a past lover, someone who I was in love with, and think of the memories. It's a great way to go about writing. Sometimes I like to listen to gospel music, Christian music, and I'll find there'll just be a few key lyrics, right? And it'll really resonate with me and my circumstance at that given time, and I write about it. I like to pray before I write sometimes too. There's tons of ways I go about it, but my number one go-to is music. So I'm gonna pause the video here. I'm gonna throw on my headphones, and I'm gonna play some music, and I'm gonna get back to you guys on my poetry, my writings, and I'm gonna walk you guys through a little bit of writing. I'm only planning on writing 1 or 2 poems tonight. We'll see where my heart takes me and where the Lord takes me tonight. I'm a little tired. I want to get some sleep before church tomorrow. So, yeah. Hello. I am in a step of my writing where I thought it'd be very valuable to share right now with you guys. And I'm in that spot where it's like, what do I write? Where do I want to start? How do I start? And so I have an idea, right? I know what I want to go with because I was having some more technical difficulties before I was going to start recording, right? I had to clear out some space. And on my iPhone, it was like old videos. It was like, it gave me the option. It was like, do you want to see old, large attachments? And I was like, sure. Let me clear out some of that stuff that serves no purpose to me. And I was clearing it out, and I stopped at a point, and I recognized it was like a little small square. And I was like, wait a minute, that looks really familiar. I look at it, and it's a video of me. I'm recording, and my ex, so I do construction, right? My dad is sewer and water. She was just sitting in the excavator. She was just wanted some cute pictures or something like that, right? So I was like, sure, why not? And I recorded her so she could take the pictures through that because she couldn't trust me to take good pictures of her. So I can't blame her with that. But I was like, oh, how inspiring. And most of my poetry is about my past relationship and the process and the emotions that I have gone through and am going through since that breakup. And I was like, what a cute video. It brought back tons of memories because I don't have any of our pictures or videos that we had and took together saved on my phone anymore. I deleted those in hopes of helping my healing process. But I was very fortunate. I know there's a reason that God kept that there. So I'm going to use that tonight for some writing. And I always put titles with my, let me show you. You can see right there at the top, I have the date and I have the title. It's called Familiar Smiles. But I was listening to this one song. It's called Birds Lament. It's upbeat. I really like it. It's really upbeat. It's kind of hippie. It's like some more modern classical music. I don't know. You can laugh at me. But it's a really good song. It's really upbeat. I like it a lot. I love the pace. And so now I'm trying to work through looking back at the video of me and my ex, right? And thinking, tying my brain towards a song and trying to mesh that all together into my writing and try to capture the music, the upbeat and the happiness of the music, right? And the video was a good video. We're upbeat, we're laughing. So I'm trying to mush all that together and put it into words. And I believe one of the most important parts of your writing to get people to stay in tune is the title's a big thing, I think. And I really love the title Familiar Smiles because I want to play upon the part of like I'm going back in the past to there, and like the muscles of my face are smiling from that time period. That's what I'm trying to play on. But I'm having a hard time thinking about how I want to start it because, as I was saying, the first sentence is really what draws a person in because I believe poetry really has to be relatable, at least for me, the way I write it. It has to be relatable, or it should be relatable at least. So now I'm working through that block, that little roadblock of where do I start? What words would just have your ears perk up as you heard someone read it. I don't have a battle plan quite yet, besides just to think, which I don't think is a horrible plan. I think it's a fine plan. But I really wanted to share that, so I shared it. And I'll be back soon. Hello. I am back and finished with my writing. The issue was the song. I was too into the song, so I switched it up. I wanted to keep it more upbeat because I wanted this poem to be a little more upbeat. So I changed it to the song Driving Home for Christmas or from for Christmas. It's got to be Driving Home for Christmas by Chris Rea. I found that song this year. I don't know how I haven't ever heard that song before. It's a good song. I recommend it. But it's upbeat. It's very nostalgic, which is exactly what I'm trying to hit with this poem here. It's very soft. It's very warm. It's just such a great song. And it really fit what I was looking for. I'm not sure how proud I am of this poem. It's okay. It's not my favorite. But it's okay. I would show you guys, but there's no reason to. So I'm just going to read it to you guys. I mean, I guess I'll show it to you guys to see if you guys want to see how I structured it. I'll let you guys look at this really fast. Boom. Hopefully you guys got an okay look at it. And now I'm going to read it to you guys. It's called Familiar Smiles. Your face fresh in my mind. The smile on my face isn't new. I look back on how we lived our lives together. Seeing you pose, my face lightens up. Being in the past never felt so real. Closing my eyes, feeling you in my heart. The voices of two young lovers. See, I like it because there's a lot of promise to it. It's a very promising poem. But what I think I'm going to do, maybe not, is I think I'm going to deconstruct it. Because there's a lot that I like about it. But I don't like how this puzzle's fitting together. It doesn't work. It could be better. It can always be better. So I'm going to work on this maybe tomorrow. No, tomorrow's New Year's Day. Or New Year's Eve, I don't know. Maybe I'll work on it Monday night and I'll vlog. I will be vlogging Monday night. I will be vlogging Monday, the whole day Monday. So be expecting a video. And if I don't post, it's because I had technical difficulties. But anyways, besides the point. You know, there's a lot to this for me. I'm going to start off with the first three lines. Your face fresh in my mind. The smile on my face isn't new. I look back on how we lived our lives together. I like all that, but there's no flow. None. And I really have a hard time calling this poetry because there's no flow to it, and there's like flow. If there's flow, I could consider it poetry in my eyes. But it doesn't even rhyme, which my poetry never really rhymes, I'll say. But I have a hard time with this writing. But each of these lines, I think, are really, really, really powerful. Your face fresh in my mind. Like I could write a whole poem about looking back on old photos, looking on old videos, looking on social media profiles, The next line, the smile on my face isn't new. I like that. I really like that. Because it really ties into the second one. It complements the second one, where I say, I look back on how we lived our lives together. Reflecting on reflecting on my writing right now, I probably could have flipped the first and the second. The second and the third. Second being, the smile on my face isn't new, and the third being, I look back on how we lived our lives together. I could have put the I look back on how we lived our lives together first, and then I could have gone into the smile on my face isn't new, and then I could have broke down I could have added a whole bunch to that. It's important to reflect on all aspects of life, and it's equally important to reflect on your writings. So, I learned a valuable lesson. What is that lesson? Reflect. The first three verses that I shared with you guys, they're okay. I think they should all be their own poems. So I might work on that later, like I was saying. But I'm gonna continue reading the last section. This I would consider way more poetic than the first half. Seeing you pose, my face lightens up. Being in the past never felt so real. Closing my eyes, feeling you in my heart. The voices of two young lovers. I like a lot of that. I think I really should have described, and I really could have taken advantage of the whole seeing you pose, my face lightens up. I really could have described that, and I could have made that so much more poetic. And the next line is, being in the past never felt so real. I could have really put more vivid words to that. And then the next line, closing my eyes, feeling you in my heart. I like that a lot. But I feel like I still left some of my heart inside. I feel like I needed to bring it out more. And then the very last sentence, the voices of two young lovers. It's kind of like a cliffhanger, right? Good, bad, I don't know. But to me, that is a very, 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 very good last sentence. Because of the reason, not because of the poem or the writing, because of the simple reason that I just love that. The voices of two young lovers. That's such a story right there. Such a story. So, I have found so much inspiration in this poem, in this writing that I have written. I'm not super proud of it, but I'm very happy with it because I've learned a lot and I have found, let me count, Count Dracula with me. One, two, three, four. I have made 4 new writings out of this. And a possible story. I've never written a story, a short story. Maybe now I'll write a short story. Because I have some buddies. I'm going to close this poem because I'm done for now with this poem. I have some buddies who are into videography. Not as much anymore, but they are enough. And they were into it. So, point being, it'd be fun to make like a little like TikTok or Instagram or even like a YouTube short. I don't like, well, it'd be like more of a video of the voices of 2 young lovers. Oh, that'd be so cool. To be talked about in the future. Now, hopefully, I provided some kind of value to you in these 20 minutes, give or take, that we've spent together so far. Hopefully, I have answered the question and I've worked through with you the question of how to find inspiration. Hopefully, you've not only found inspiration, and I've answered that question, but hopefully, if you had any other questions, I've helped work you through that. But enough of that. I don't know who's going to watch this. I don't know who's going to get all the way to the end. May it be nobody, may it be one person. We'll see where God takes this. Maybe 1,000,000 people. Wouldn't that be crazy? But to whoever's watching right now, hopefully you've enjoyed this. Hopefully you have learned something and you've been entertained by me, because I entertain myself quite a bit, so hopefully I'm equally entertaining to you. And let me know what you liked about this video. Help me grow. I really would appreciate that. You don't need to like the video, you don't need to subscribe. I would appreciate that too, but if you could leave a comment on what you liked about this video and what you disliked, I would appreciate that. And let me know what you'd like to see more of when it comes to this whole side of poetry. Because this is poetry and writing. I've really found a love in, and it's so valuable to me. And I'm on the process. I'm on the path of publishing. Soon publishing some of these poems. Let me flip to a random page. Here's a poem. Or writing, I don't know. Call it what you want. I like to call myself a poet. But I'm on the process of thinking about publishing some of this poetry. So I'd love to hear what you guys have to think. See if you guys would be even interested in hearing the handful of poems I have in here. But I flipped to this one poem, and I know this poem is right now being brought to me to bring to you guys by the Lord, because I do write poetry about God a lot, and I do write about God a lot. Well, not a lot. Not as much as I do about love. But out of all the poems and writings I could have flipped to, magically, I flipped to one about God. I know that's the Lord, so I know He's wanting me to share this. To who? I don't know, but I hope that you guys enjoy this one. I wrote this one this year, 12/8/2023, and it's called God, I Rely on You. I am weak, I am a fool, I am blind. I will try with every ounce of my body to be strong, to be perfect. I have withered away into a dead flower, all of my beauty drained out of me by my own doing. The water was there to refresh me, but I thought I didn't need water. The food was sitting at my roots, wanting to be eaten. As I starved, I was a fool to believe I didn't need food. I became blind. On the brink of death, I was blind to what you were offering me. As I slowly let myself die, you were the last thing I had, so I relied on you, my Lord. You did not wait to fulfill me. You gave me what I needed. You showed me that I need to rely on you. God, I rely on you. You fulfill me to miraculous extents. Boom. Poet Aiden right here. Professional writer. I like that one. I forget the context of that. I think I was struggling with a lot of things. And I think primarily lust, I would say, was one of the sins that I was struggling with. And I think that I was trying to fight that by myself, right? Which I do with a lot of things. I think I could do it by myself, right? But I can't. I think that I don't need God or whatnot in everyday things. But I'm quickly humbled to the point of I need God. God, I rely on you. So that's probably where that came from. But yeah, I write about God every once in a while, so I know there's a purpose to that poem that I just read to you guys. I don't know what God has in store for that poem. I'm very curious to see what His plan is with that, because I know that's God. I'm a very firm believer in that. Now, I am flipping through my book to find one more. I want to read one more about love, about this whole. Most of my poems recently have been about working through a breakup, I'll say. Working through a breakup. A little bit, tweak that a little bit to, because there's some things about about my poetry that is and isn't the same. But I'm trying to find one that I like. I think this is the one I'm going to read you. This one I wrote on November 26th, 2023. It's called Holding On Forever. I don't know if I'd consider this more of a poem or a writing, but I'll show you guys the format. I was just kind of freehanding it, I don't even know if that's the right terminology, but welcome to the school of ADB, where we do our own poetry the way we want to. Okay, so let me get to it before I ramble and waste more of your guys' valuable time. My heart longs for you. It wants to hold on. I am in never-ending pain. I want to be set free from you. I beg to move on, but my heart cares about you more than itself. I always wonder if I will ever move on. I know you aren't coming back, but my heart won't listen. I love you for the worst, knowing that I will never hold you again, but forever holding you in my heart. Boom. More ADB. Love poetry. But that's kind of how I do my writings. I just go with the flow. And if I get any feedback from you guys, I will most definitely try my very, very best to um, give you what you want. And I think that's it for tonight, guys. I think I'm signing off. It is now. It's 1:12. What have I done to myself? So I need some sleep now. So I appreciate you guys watching. And until Monday, hopefully.